Yippee-yay!
Hi guys, and welcome to the New Vegas Mod Clinic Part 21. Now, I am currently doing a sort of cowboy gunslinger playthrough, and my character uses mostly pistols, lever action weapons, and shotguns. But I have recently had the urge to try out some new variations of these type of weapons, and so of course, I went searching on Nexus to find some options. Now, one of the first names that comes to mind when I think of weapon mods and Fallout New Vegas is Millenia. He has 97 weapon mods for that one game alone. He has a hell of a lot of mods, and also actually he has a video channel, a YouTube channel, which I will link below, that actually has a series of videos devoted to making your own weapon mods. So if you've ever been interested in, learning how to mod weapons, his channel is well worth checking out. And I went through his list of mods and I found several things that were interesting, but I found 6 that were very interesting and appropriate to this character. And the first thing that I found was the MP412 Rex. It is a very nice looking weapon. It is not a huge pistol, but it does have a kind of hefty weight look to it. It really does look very, very solid indeed. It also has a pretty nice sound. And it doesn't actually have a huge amount of recoil, and it means you can fire it pretty quick and remain accurate the entire time. The damage on this weapon is pretty good. And my character has high gun skill and the cowboy perk, which gives a boost to lever action weapons and pistols, and so obviously this gets a boost. And as you can see, it does 36 base damage. If I use the weapon stat mod, you can see it has a minimum spread of 0.3 and a reload time that is about just below 2.5 seconds. So it's reasonably fast reload and it's reasonably accurate. If I compare this to the unique gun called That Gun, which fires 5.56mm rounds, that does a base damage of 35 using the armor piercing bullets, which are about 5% below normal damage but pierce armor, whereas the MP412 Rex with the normal bullets does 34 damage. The damage is close to that you would get on That Gun, which makes this a fairly powerful gun. Not the most powerful gun, but a pretty powerful gun. And remember, this is the basic ammo. If you get special ammo, it'll probably do a little more damage. All round, this to me is a good mid-game weapon. However, I'm still looking for something with a little more oomph, a little bit more of an intimidating look, while still being a pistol. And that brings us to the Taurus Raging Bull. This is another pistol, and a very nice looking pistol as well. Again, in its unmodified form, it's large but not super large. It's got a good hefty solid look. It is very good damage. When you check the damage on this, for my character, the base damage 58 and the DPS 166, making this a far superior weapon to the That Gun, for example. However, not only is this weapon fairly good damage, it can be upgraded. And for example, there is a long barrel mod which I can attach, and this definitely makes this weapon a little more intimidating. It really does. It increases the length and you now feel like you have a hand cannon. This is more like it. But even with this barrel, you should be aware that the spread on this weapon is a little larger than the previous pistol. It does a lot more damage, but it does have a slight drop in accuracy. I can also tell you now the recoil is a lot more significant. I did actually find another version of this in Doc Mitchell's house called the Taurus Raging Boner. Most amusing. And it has a damage of 50, but it has a DPS of 732. I'm not completely sure what this is. The weapon stats mod registers it as having pretty much insane number of shots per minute, like 880 something. However, it doesn't shoot that fast. It does shoot fast. But what I can tell you is it has almost no recoil. I have a feeling this is a cheat item. Not sure if it was supposed to be there, but I found it. So this is a great weapon. I mean, it looks intimidating and dangerous, and it does a huge amount of damage. I mean, this is a great weapon if you're facing armoured opponents. It will punch right through even powered armour without much problem. However, there is a small glitch with the mod in that when you add the long barrel mod, which is how I would want to use it because that's what makes it look like the hand cannon, there is a small glitch where the fast reloader is visible. Now, I think that is because I am using the Pip-Boy 2500, which is a variation of the Radius. Now, that's what I think, because I saw some comments where people were saying, you know, I have the Radius and I have this problem, and I have the same problem with the Pip-Boy 2500. So it's probably not the mod's fault, and I'm not sure there's anything that can be done about it. So if you are using something like that, you probably cannot use this weapon, which is an absolute shame because I so wanted to use this one. However, not the mod's fault, not the mod's fault, it's just one of those incompatibilities. I still love this weapon. And next up is the Mateba Model 6 Unica. My apologies if I'm saying that incorrectly. It is another 44 caliber weapon, and this one is truly a monster of a gun. This is a big gun. Definitely what I was looking for. It is a pistol, but it's sort of it almost looks like a hybrid. It just has that slight look of the Desert Eagle type thing, only it is a pistol, and it is very intimidating. Again, the recoil on this thing, pretty noticeable. Not too bad, but pretty noticeable. Makes a lovely sound when firing. And it does a large amount of damage. Even the basic bullet, 50 base damage with a DPS of 136. Again, another gun designed to punch holes in things, even people wearing armor, even things as tough as the powered armor. This weapon will pierce it without much trouble. Now, this gun can also be modded. For example, you can add a compensator which increases the damage by 12%, which is nice. Now, it does make the gun look cool, but to be honest, I prefer it without it. It almost looks like a silencer, even though it's not. And I don't know. I mean, I prefer the unmodded gun the way it looks. I really do. There is also a mod to give it a gold plate finish. However, there is a special place in hell for anyone who does this. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Why would you take such a great looking gun and do that? Don't do that. Just don't. It does actually give you a bonus. It gives 50% more condition. It's not worth it. Just no. In all seriousness though, this weapon is phenomenal. It does a huge amount of damage, and in fact, I think the only pistol I can think of that does more damage than this in the game now is the hunting revolver, which does insane damage, but there you go. It looks phenomenal. It really is quite a terrifying looking weapon, and there's just nothing bad to say about it except that gold plating. Now, the next weapon I found is very interesting indeed, and it's called the Mare's Leg. And I believe it's actually based upon a weapon used in an old Western TV series with Steve McQueen, and many of you probably have never even heard of him. Congratulations if you have, you're old like me. So anyway, yeah, a famous actor of the 70s, and I believe this TV series was from the 70s, and this weapon is the weapon he used. It's not a pistol, but is rather a sawn off rifle. It's a lever-action rifle where the barrel has been sawn off. It has an almost shotgun-looking feel to it, sort of a cross between a big pistol and a shotgun. Now, in the game, you do use it two-handed, so you looks a bit more like a shotgun. However, it uses 44 caliber rounds, and its base damage is 60, which is pretty huge. However, the accuracy is fairly bad, which does make this more of a shotgun kind of weapon. But because it doesn't have lots of little pellets, because it has basically one bullet, it is good for getting through armor. It will punch through armor even better than the pistols I have been showing you, and it has a fairly good fire rate, so you can put quite a few bullets into people before you have to reload. You're probably going to be able to kill 2 or 3 people in power armor without much difficulty if you get the drop on them. It is a lever action weapon, so it does get added to the cowboy perk list, so if you are playing a cowboy playthrough, this is a very interesting option. Moving on to a shotgun next, the first of the shotguns. The first shotgun I'm going to show you is the Remington 870. Now, this is a sawn-off pump-action shotgun, and the model is pretty simple, but really nice. It's got a very clean texture, so it looks pretty new, but it really does fit the game. The sound the weapon makes is very nice indeed. And it fires reasonably fast, so you can get a few shots off before you have to reload. The damage it does is pretty high, actually. It does 14.9 times 10 and a DPS of 200, which is large by shotgun standards. It's not as good as the Riot shotgun. However, one thing I will point out is, for some strange reason, this shotgun has been added to the cowboy perk list for lever action and pistol weapons, and I don't think it should have been. So for my character, the damage is probably higher than it otherwise would have been. I think this DPS should be about 25% less, so probably a DPS of about 150. Which would, put it more in line with the lever action shotgun, which does get a boost because of the lever action nature, or one of the better ones like the hunting shotgun. So I do think that's a mistake, but if you don't have the cowboy perk, it does fairly reasonable damage. And as I said, it's not the best shotgun in the game. It's not as good as the Riot shotgun, for example, if you're using that, if you're using a mod that adds that weapon. So in general, I think the damage is perfectly reasonable. This shotgun can be modded. It does have 2 mods. The first one is the synthetic parts mod. This gives the weapon a far more shiny and gleaming look. It's all silver metal and, as they said, synthetic parts. Instead of the wood finish, you have this kind of, well, not plastic finish, but a very grey synthetic material look to it. It still looks great and totally believable, but it does have a slightly more, a lot more futuristic look to it. You might think it's a little out of place in the Fallout world, but not much actually. It is very nice looking. And there is a second mod that can be added, which is the side saddle. And this simply adds a side saddle that holds some ammunition, but it does extra damage. I think that's the bonus you get. But that looks great. It really does look very nice indeed. And finally for this video, the last weapon is another shotgun. It's a little unusual. It's called the Duplet, and it's actually based on a shotgun from another game, a game called Metro 2033. The model for this weapon is really good. It has an almost homemade look to it. It does look large and fairly intimidating, and it may not have the Fallout feel, to be honest. It's difficult to tell, but it has a lovely sound. And there's a slight ringing at the end of it. I'm not totally sure what that is, but it might even be a sound from the Metro game. Now, I'm a little biased towards this weapon because I've just recently done a Metro 2033 playthrough up on YouTube, and I really did enjoy the game, so perhaps that's rubbing off. But actually, I think this weapon looks, feels, and sounds very cool indeed. If you're into shotguns, you might want to give this one a try. All of the weapons get added to the correct lists via a script, which is the correct way to do it. It is the best way to do it for compatibility, except the Remington 870 SO. That has a few anomalies. I've noticed on the Form ID lists, there are 4 lists that are complete replicas of the master one, so these would be dirty edits. And there is one where this one weapon has been manually added to the form list in a way that generally I'm against, but it actually doesn't matter because the script that he's done to add these to the level list in actual fact adds them all to the correct ones already, making all of these form IDs pretty much superfluous. So in actual fact, for me, I think I'm just going to delete those 5 Form ID lists. Now, I'm not saying they will hurt your game, but it is possible that if another mod adds via the same technique, you will get a slight conflict. This is why scripts are so much better, because there's no conflict. Now, I think this was probably an omission by the mod author. I think I can probably delete all of these right now and everything will work. Well, I'm fairly sure everything will work. I'm not totally sure, but you know, 99.9 for example. The script itself, as I said, it does add the shotgun to the perk cowboy weapons list. I'm going to edit this to remove it from that for myself because I think that was possibly a mistake. It's not a lever action weapon and it's not a pistol, so I'm not sure it belongs there. Other than that, these weapons are great. Brilliant models, good damage, just generally speaking, fit the game. Even the last one, even the duplet, it's a little different, a little unusual, but still, I love that weapon. And of course, I've got another 91 of his mods to take a look at, which may take some time. Anyway, that is about it for this video. I am going to end with some screenshots that you guys have been posting on my Nexus page. I will leave a link down below if you are interested in submitting one of your own. A big thank you to everyone who has done so far. I look forward to seeing you on the next New Vegas Mod Clinic or whatever video you decide to join me for. And until then, as always, have fun.
Go right merrily along. And they sing